Hey everyone, it's your host Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and today you all are in for a treat. You all know we've been doing this for quite some time. We've been podcasting since 2014, and so to have a guest on the show today, we are going to have an incredible mind come to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage, Mr. Vince Quinn, who's the co-founder and creative director of SBX Productions, where he helps businesses like yours, like mine, like ours, start their own podcast and use their power, their superpower, and he shares his superpower like the Superman of podcasting, and teaches them and gives back and shows them the power in marketing from podcasting. And he also helps podcasters unlock their hosting potential. So I can't hold this incredible. I'm looking forward to this conversation today. For those of you on the fence, around the fence, and pushing through the fence, but you can't get past that barrier, I have the exact guest for you today. And we are going to dive deep and ask him questions. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible Mr. Vince Quinn.
Oh my goodness. What an introduction. Can I just have you come on every show before me? Like, if you could just hype me up like that everywhere I go, I will do so much better in life. I mean, that was fantastic.
I'll be your hype man. I am being your hype man. I am absolutely open to being your hype man, because what you don't know is the beautiful thing is access, right? I get to glean off of you and be courtside while you give your nuggets and share your tips. So I'll absolutely be your hype man, sir.
There we go. It's a deal.
Deal. Rocking. Mr. Quinn, I want to start with a curveball question. You've been teaching and giving back because you could have gatekept, right? You could have kept the secret all to yourself with your company, but you decided to give back. When did you know you had the gift of podcasting, and when did you decide to make the transition to help others make the shift in their marketing and add it, maybe not replace their current marketing strategy, but add it as another tool and avenue? When did that kick off for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. They're two different time frames completely. I mean, when I figured out I had some sort of gift and I belonged in podcasting, that was over 10 years ago. It was almost like 15 years ago. So when I first got started in podcasting, I was in radio. So that's how I built myself as a host in radio, as I was spending all of this time practicing by hosting podcasts. So to be in a big city, grew up in Philadelphia, moved back to Philadelphia after college, getting a job at one of the biggest sports stations and most historic sports stations in the country, and being able to host shows eventually at 25 years old because they liked what I did on podcasts. It was like, oh, wow, like I enjoy this, and I think I'm good, but these people judge hosts and they think I've got it. So that's when I first realized that I had some idea of, okay, I can do this. And then to help businesses with that really was about 3 years ago when I started to realize, like, oh, this is a big business issue. Businesses are embracing this. And frankly, a lot of times they're following the wrong blueprint when they do it.
That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. So they were messing up and you had access, you had insight, knowledge. And again, that has been my dream. That has been my dream, to get to land maybe not big scale radio production, but land a small scale radio production and just reach the masses. And so how did you end up in radio? I'm curious. I know you gotta, the only thing I know is that you gotta submit a sound bite. Like you have to submit a quick short clip. That was the one radio station I interviewed for. But how did you get into radio?
Completely by accident. I had no business being there. It was not on my roadmap at all. I was looking at everything except radio. It was like, well, maybe I'll do comedy, or I'll work in television, and I'll write advertisements and do like funny ads at a big agency. Like, I just thought something that was entertaining and in the media. But when I thought of the radio growing up, because of my parents, in part, like, they didn't really listen to talk radio. So I didn't think of it that way. I didn't relate to it that way. Radio was music. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing in radio. But once I got back and I got out of college and I was looking for a real job, my uncle calls me and he goes, Vince, and he's a lawyer. So he doesn't work in radio, but he's like, I know some guys in radio that are looking for somebody to do a sales job. You have any interest in sales? I was like, no, I don't. Thanks. So I passed. And then a couple days later, he's like, well, they're also looking for promotions team people. So you'd go out to events and like just be around and engage with people. And it'd be on behalf of like a bunch of different radio stations. Would you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, I'm interested in that. So he got me an interview there. And that's how I started in radio. I was literally handing out T-shirts at bars, setting up tents and banners, and like just doing grunt work in the promotional side.
So you this was not your bag. This was not something you chose. This is not something you decided to do, and it just you stumbled into it. How was it for you though? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Because you left radio ultimately.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Oh man, radio overall. I mean, on some level, experience of a lifetime, and also something I never want to do again. It's really, I mean, it's everything. It was all of it, because the thing is, I thought it was a dream job for a while. Because for me it was, I'm in Philadelphia. I'm a sports nut. I'm obsessed with football. I love the league, all the players. I know all the stats. I'm into the history, styles of play, everything. Like I love football. So to be on the radio in my hometown talking about football was amazing. And at the height of it, like I had a nationally syndicated show. I was on CBS Sports Radio talking on 225 stations about football. Like that is oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this kind of opportunity, So like that was unbelievable. And it was a great experience. And I love that. And I'll always look fondly on that. But when you think about the work that goes into doing sports radio, which means you've got to pay attention to all these different leagues all the time. You're always watching games. You're following all the different things that people tweeted, people they unfollowed on Instagram. You've got to know everything that's happening all the time. You've got to have opinions, and you've got to be smarter, or at least as smart as everybody else who's listening. And it's a world full of sports obsessives, and people think that they know more than you, whether that's justified or not. So like you're at war in sports radio constantly. Like people want to tell you you're stupid. They're dying to tell you that you're stupid and that you don't know anything about their team, or you don't know the sport, or you don't belong. Like it's always this sense of negativity. You mentioned gatekeeping earlier. I think there's a lot of that. Like it's just, hey, you can't talk about our team. Like we're in Cleveland, and so for you as a national guy from Philly, like you can't tell us anything about the Browns. And it's like, yes, I can. The team's bad. So you know what I mean? It was like, what am I going to do? It's like I'm here to give you an opinion on this thing that I'm spending my life on. So yeah, sports was a great thing, but I think in a lot of ways it's limiting. Because as much as you create a great show, and I love the work and the art form of that, like you get into, again, the negative audience aspect of it, which is definitely real, the grind of all of the workload, and just the sense of you are disposable in corporate radio. I mean, it's not like you get long contracts. You have to renew every 2 years. Everybody wants to do that kind of job. Like it's not a stable career. And so to live on edge like that and essentially have to work around the clock every day of the year to maintain your job that isn't secure, like it's like, why do I want to live this life? Like, what is that for?
So you lived in perpetual fear. I thought it was some stability to it. Like, hey, you're gonna be on this time slot during these morning announcements, or maybe you're gonna have the afternoon slot. It wasn't a set schedule. You said round the clock working. Or maybe do you mean you're round the clock working? Like even though you're off, you're still watching the highlights. You're still watching other teams. You're still working to get up on the latest thing.
Yeah, it's both. So
Wow.
for me, even when I was with CBS, I was the national weekend overnight guy. So I'm doing 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. East Coast time, Saturday morning and Sunday morning. That was my show. And with that, that's not enough money to pay the bills. Like I got to do other work. So in the station, I was hosting shows in Philly and New York. So I was going back and forth between cities. I was doing some producing as well, and then taking as many fill-in shifts as I could. So if at the time, I think it was Amy Lawrence that was doing nights, like the regular Monday through Friday overnight show, if she was out, I would get the call a lot of times to go and take that shift. And I would always say yes, because I got to get to work and I got to get my name out there. And like when you're the next guy in line or want to be the next guy in line, that's what you have to do. So to build that career, yeah, you're working all hours of the day. I was working late nights, overnights, weekends, holidays, early mornings, like whatever time of day. I could have easily worked it in any given week. It just didn't matter. And while you're doing that, until you get a full-time show, which isn't a guarantee in a regular time slot, then you've got to keep up with all the sports stuff as you're doing that. So like to do the job, do it well, make enough money to live, and have any kind of social life, you just can't do all three of those things at the same time. I mean, it was brutal. So yeah, I had to step back at some point and just go like, I don't think this is worth it, and I don't want to build the rest of my life on this.
That's fair. That's fair. That's what was the pay like, or is the pay really comes when you get that this is the Vince Quinn show? Is that when the pay starts really rolling in? And then you don't have to work such crazy hours, or even then it's still a grind. It's still a hustle.
Yeah, I mean, I was making in a given night, let's say I was making $300 a show, right? It's a 4-hour show. That feels good, right? Like
that does.
That feels good. That sounds good. So in a weekend, I'm making $600. But then you think about the workload of this, because then I have to be in 4 hours early to plan for that show. I'm filling 4 hours of national airtime. I need to know what's happened that night in the NBA, or the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, college football. I need to know what the scores were and the storylines of those games. I've got to have interviews ready to go to add some variety to the show and schedule those and record those. I have to have like everything. Yeah. I mean, because
you had to find your own guests to interview.
So occasionally I had a producer that helped with some of that, but the way my show worked, I didn't have a dedicated full-time producer to my show. What would happen is I would typically get somebody who would come on at midnight and work until 6 a.m., but there's a show before me. So when they come in, a lot of times they're in the middle, they're joining another show in the middle. So they have to figure out what's going on with that show, and they have to manage that. Now the one guy that I did spend the most time with would schedule some things and help me out. But there were also times where I'd be like, hey, I think I need this kind of guy. Like we would have to have conversations about who to bring on. So it's something to work on. And occasionally I would do the outreach myself if I knew the person well. So yeah, I mean, you have to coordinate all of that. Like it wasn't, and that was part of it, is once I got to national, I'm realizing, okay, well, it's more work now. I think I'm better suited for that. And just in terms of my temperament, like I wasn't a homer. So I was always, and that always got me in trouble in Philly, criticizing the home team. But it gives me credibility on the national stage. You know what I mean? So
yes, sir.
I liked myself in a national fit, but then it's like, okay, well, I don't have a dedicated full-time person. And for the amount of money that it feels like I'm getting per shift, after a while, I realized, well, yeah, I've got to do 4 hours of work to prep for that. So it's really an 8-hour shift. Plus, I need to know what's going on during the week. So I am watching games and I am watching highlights and reading the news. And I have to really think about what is my opinion on this thing and why do I feel this way, so that I can give it in a clear and concise way to the audience. You know, like they need to know how I feel. I have to be very strongly worded in what I say. So when you pile up all of that work, I mean, I could have been working like 25 hours for a single 4-hour show. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's an insane amount of work, and it just boils down to pennies on the dollar, more or less.
Absolutely. The work ethic is insane. That sounds absolutely insane. And when I think of, I don't follow sports. I don't know if you follow sports prior to the position, but I don't follow sports. So that would be impossible for me. Like I understand the concept of how it is, how they make a point, but I don't follow sports. And my household was my dad was a Raiders fan. God bless his soul. Right. Yeah. Like of all teams, you choose the Raiders, right? But he was a Raiders fan and he watched sports all the time, but I never got into it. So that would scare the bejesus out of me. And I'd find that very impossible to do, trying to stay up on all the highlights when I'm not genuinely interested. So that's impossible. Yeah, that's scary to me.
And that's the thing. Like I was obsessed with sports. So at first it's like, oh, this is the opportunity. I get to talk about sports all the time. This is great. And then after a while, it's like, oh, okay, well, there wasn't anything that was that exciting that really happened tonight. And I gotta talk for 4 hours
and make it exciting.
And yeah, and make it exciting in the middle of the night. And you know, it's just it's a hard thing to do. And so to have to do that, and at the same time, corporate radio was falling apart. I mean, the company that I was with went massively into debt. They still exist, but they were $1.9 billion in debt like 2 years ago. Yeah, like crazy stuff. Yeah, I left 5 years ago, just about. So it's fine. But yeah, like the crazy debt. So that was part of the calculus is, okay, well, I could get a full-time show and I'll have a stable time slot and I'll have more resources around me. So that would be great. Like that's the goal. But people that had gotten those jobs were starting to say that the salaries weren't going up the way that they thought. And if anything, when the people who were like the old guard that had earned those large salaries because radio was booming and you know what I mean? Like that was the golden age of radio. Once those people left, those salaries were gone. It's not like, oh, well, I'm the next person in line. I'm going to make as much as the person before me. It's like, no, you're going to make a fifth of the person ahead of you because it's a different age now, and we'll get somebody else to fill the slot for this dollar if you don't take it. So, yeah, it's just like looking at the big picture, it was like I could make a decent living doing big time, big market radio, right? Like I'm not going to say I'd be broke. You'd make some decent money in a good city, in a good time slot. You do all right. But again, you think of the workload that goes into it. If I've got an afternoon show, well, baseball's at night, Sunday night football, Thursday night football, Monday night football. Like you know what I mean? So it's just like you start to look around and you go, oh, well, you are working all day, every day. And so again, what is that worth and what kind of life can you really live when you have to work constantly? And, it's all just based on making the news interesting. Like it's fun for a while. I learned a ton. I met some great people and like still have some good friends from my industry time. But
I was just about to ask, you read my mind. I was just about to ask you, did you meet any NFL celebrities? Any good friends still there? Like Club Shay Shay, anything?
yeah, I mean, I didn't have that kind of credibility in a sense. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't on the big shows, so the big athletes and all, they would go on those shows. What I built relationships with was sports writers, bloggers, podcasters. Like I built some credibility there, and I gave some guys opportunity because I would find them interesting, and I'm looking for new voices. Like my show needs to be unique, right? So what makes me stand out? Well, I'll go find people that are my guy for this team, this topic. So I would go and do that. But yeah, athletes, I interviewed them here and there. Like I interviewed Austin Eckler once a long time ago, and working at WIP in Philly, there were some former athletes that were hosts there. So I knew those guys pretty well. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, if you're an athlete, you're not getting put on the overnight show, like it's not.
That's true.
So yeah, I just didn't have the connections. And frankly, the stations weren't interested in building my status in that way. It was like, I wasn't established yet, and they still had me in a prove it phase. So yeah, I just didn't. It's like, wait, yeah, am I going to stick around for this? No.
You saw the sinking ship. You saw the thing on the decline. So would you say today is radio on the decline? Because I for what I do, for all the different things I do, I had a radio station local here reach out to us, and they were like, "Hey, give me your demographics. We want to put you on the radio. Radio is still the thing." And me and my business partner, we were like, "Radio?" And and he's like, well, we're on satellite radio. Satellite radio is the new kid on the block. It's not they still had the FM AM stuff,
yeah,
but they were pushing the iHeartRadio, the satellite radio, and they were saying we're on those platforms and getting you the views. And I think they wanted like $10,000 over the course of like several months.
Yeah.
And we just didn't buy in because we were like, and what the package he put together was like, listen, this is what you're getting. You're getting these slot times. We're going to list your ad on these slot times. Is radio, ultimately, my question, is radio dying art? Did you feel?
Oh, I think it's already dead, to be completely honest with you. Yeah. I mean,
really?
Yeah, like what is the future of radio right now? I mean, everybody that is a bona fide creator is a podcaster, a TikToker, a YouTuber. They're on Instagram. Like they're on all of the other platforms, the modern platforms. They're podcasting. Like they own their audience. They get to be as flexible as they want. They're not restricted in terms of the FCC. I mean, like Joe Rogan didn't sign a deal with like whatever FM radio station. He signed it with Spotify. Yeah, because he can still say whatever he wants. He can do a 4-hour show. And but if he decides to do 2.5 hours one day, that doesn't matter. It's not like, hey, you need to fill this airtime. So that's the deal. And whether it's a good show or not, you're going to give us that extra 40 minutes, like that matters. So yeah, I think in terms of what the future of it is, I guess the best way to describe it is the future of radio is completely shot and all of the talent is elsewhere. They're going to have to convince people to come back, and they've got a major uphill battle to do so. And for right now, everything that they're leaning on, it's all legacy stuff. It's shows that have been around for a number of years, and with people who haven't broken the habit yet. But I mean, where's radio going to be in 10 years? Like, I can't imagine it's anywhere good, and I wouldn't bet my future on it.
Facts. So you're saying it. You're speaking to it. I think radio is going to be downhill. I think radio is not going to make it. I don't think it's going to last. I don't think it's going to withstand the test of time. And I think the guy was just puffing a bunch of smoke, right, to keep his people employed so they don't have to run into debt. I'm sure there's debt in, but it was like a major complex. But thank you confirming my feelings on and I feel better about the decision to not go with that radio company, that radio network, because I felt it wasn't it. Because that was my question. Are you on Spotify? Are you on Apple? Are you on Apple iTunes? Are you on Audible? Right? And they were like, no, we're just on satellite and we're on the FM AM stuff. And I'm like, you're not shifting with the time. So I feel good about it. What is dead air time? Why is that significant in the radio world?
Dead air time in which way? I guess is my question.
Dead air time. So I listened to another podcast, and the gentleman is also a radio personality who left, and now he does DoorDash full time and Uber Eats full time.
Okay.
To make more money, because he realized he could make more money doing Uber than the radio stuff.
Yeah.
But he even I can still hear it in the way he podcasts, where there's no dead space in between conversations. He doesn't allow gaps, and if there is, he edits it and he removes the gaps, so it's just constantly flowing, no dead air time. Why is that so significant in the radio world?
Well, I think it's an outdated philosophy. I mean, I've definitely been around it, but when it comes to the idea of you can't have a second of dead air, I think it's a misunderstanding of how to guide a conversation. I mean, think about it. Like, your whole thing is you need to keep people engaged. And yes, speaking constantly is part of the gig. You can't just, hey, I'm just going to walk away for a minute down the hall and I'm just going to hit the bathroom. I'll be right back. Like, you can't do that. Right. But I think it's totally okay, especially from a storytelling standpoint, to do things with your voice that draw attention. And so theoretically, if I'm drawing a story, you see, like that.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Right? Like, but that's it. And then it's an advantage if you use it properly. And I think if you say dead air fundamentally needs to go, you devalue what tone can do for a conversation and how that lack of speaking can get you opportunities to actually bring people in. So yeah, I've always thought that's outdated, and you need to, find some variety in delivery.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. This is the Grand Poobah, Mr. Vince Quinn. That's why I just named you, man. You're the Grand Poobah of podcasting.
There we go.
Are nuggets. I love this. Have you ever experienced an ethical dilemma, or where you found yourself, or maybe you were coached or you were taught to steer conversations towards controversy on either a special guest, or to incite the audience that was listening in either on a late night or was going to possibly, I guess there's no replay when it comes to radio stations, but to catch you live? Did you ever find yourself, or was ever coached to steer a conversation to strike up controversy to boost your ratings? Did you ever fall victim to that?
There's definitely a side of devil's advocate and making an argument for the sake of it. I think of the sports landscape. What has it been for the last 15, 20 years? I mean, is Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, all those kinds of guys. Like, they built the entire reputation and complex of sports content around the idea of embracing debate. And what does that mean? You're going to talk about things that you don't necessarily believe. You're going to always pin people against each other. And it's got to be, this person is the greatest or the worst, and this guy is better than that guy. And it's always done in that way because it's clickbait, essentially, right? You want people to engage with it. And so the more extreme you can present that information to get people to engage with it, that's the goal. Like, you're buying attention. That's all it is. So how do you get people to maintain attention? You say controversial things. You get this idea that you have, and you try to make it as strongly worded as possible. And for me, I I didn't really like that philosophy. I get why people did it, and there were people that were great at it, but it wasn't my way of doing things. I mean, I always looked at it from a Dan Lebitard standpoint, where for him, it was always like these really interesting conversations and funny and informational and introspective. And there's just like a lot more thoughtfulness behind it. I always thought that was the goal. It was more, how can I make my opinions entertaining rather than how can I give opinions for entertainment? And I always thought when you're talking about real people and what their legacies are and how they're perceived in the public, like I just didn't think it was right to be disingenuous with how I felt.
That's fair. That's facts. I love that. I love that. Remain your authentic self. Remain your true blue self. Mr. Quinn Jones, y'all. The Grand Poobah podcasting. I want to lean on your expertise. I want to lean on your knowledge and your insight. What are some blunders that you see? I have my own opinions that I've seen podcasters make, especially on various platforms where we can find guests and stuff like that. But what are your faux pas that you see podcasters make over and over again that you typically coach to, and in your experience, what are some big mistakes that a podcaster should not do?
Yeah, so I think it's number one, be general on the topics, right? Like when it's just, hey, we're going to talk about dating today. Like, what about it? You know, there's a million things. Like you can talk about that in 5,000 different ways, and to just say you're going to do that, it doesn't mean anything, right? But if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to talk about dating in your 40s when you have kids, like that's a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now I've got some idea of exactly what this is. It sounds different than anything I've heard anywhere else. And if that's a situation that's relevant to me, it's not. But if it was, then it's like, okay, that's specific and I know. So yeah, don't be general. Don't pick categories. Categories are not topics. It's all about being as specific as possible with the starting point of the conversation. And the unfortunate thing is when people start with a category, they find a topic like 40 minutes in. And that's when it's like, oh, okay, well, now we're going to spend 10 minutes talking about, yeah, well, I was, for me in my 40s when I had 2 kids, like here's what this experience was like. And that's interesting. But people aren't necessarily going to wait 40 minutes to get there. Like you need to be specific. You need to be clear, and you need to be way deeper in conversation than you think from the jump. So that's number one is, yeah, you got to push yourself to be incredibly specific about topics.
Love it. Love it. That's good. I love it. Yeah. Where have you found when you teach this, where have you found it be best served? And I think I know the answer based off of what you just said. Don't be general, guys, be specific, right? Mr. Quinn says be specific so that your target audience can dial in. Like, yeah, general dating, you could talk about 1,000,001 things, and then you've wasted 35 minutes of time just to get to the ultimate point of the conversation or the highlight of the conversation. So be specific. But should people niche down in their podcast, or should they remain as broad as possible when podcasting so that they can attract a wider audience? Because if you like, I see podcasts and they're like the tech podcast, right? That's very niche. And so you know exactly what you're going to get from this podcast. He's only going to talk about technology, the Tesla truck, the Cyber truck, what Elon Musk is doing, what Jeff Bezos is doing, what SpaceX is doing. You know exactly what you're going to get. Or should podcasts stay broad so that they can relate to every topic out there on the scene?
Yeah, so I think in a lot of cases, the idea of being broad is over. You're just dealing with specialists everywhere. So unless you're truly an established brand, an engaging personality, somebody that people love, and they're just going to go along for the ride of whatever you want to talk about because they love you, then like, hey, great, you've earned that. And you can be a little more general with your show. But if you're trying to stand out and build a reputation and build a true audience, like you need to find something specific and be one of the best at it. And that takes a lot of time because to figure out where you want to truly commit and build your opinion database, essentially, like, hey, what are all these specific things that I feel, and why do I feel all of these things, and how am I expressing that to the audience, and finding other people that are in this, having these same kinds of conversations, these different groups, different events, different brands, whatever it might be. Like you need that specificity because generalists, let's say, okay, I'm just talking about life experience as a guy in his 30s, right? I'm 35. So, okay, I'm going to talk about, I'm a newlywed. So I'm going to talk about being newlywed. I've got plenty of people, maintaining relationships with my friends and things that I'm up to, going out and drinking. I'm going to talk about sports because I'm really into sports. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you're into any of those topics in a diehard way, you might listen to 1 out of every 5 episodes because 1 out of every 5 is relevant to that category. You know what I mean? Like that's the problem. So you can't, it's hard to build an audience when you're not consistent about what you're talking about and people don't know what they're getting every single time. So there's a real art form of finding that very specific thing and being able to connect with people. But to borrow a quote that I really love from a friend of mine that he quotes all the time from Carl Rogers, what is most personal is most universal. And you shouldn't be afraid of being specific and being exclusionary because you're defining the conversation more. It's going to be a clearer message. It's going to be a deeper message, a more specific message, and that's going to resonate with people. So yeah, I recommend being as specific as you can be.
Absolutely. Do you feel? I love this. I love this show. You can tell I love this show. This conversation is absolutely epic. The unique thing about podcasting is I get to be my own front row audience member. And I get to ask the fun questions and the hard questions selfishly,
Which is good. I like that.
I get to be selfish, and I love this. Should do you feel podcasters should disclose their personal biases and their like I know some podcasters, like a very famous podcaster, he went live and he was like he feels he shouldn't be announcing his partner or his relationships or his dating status or if he's single, if he's LGBTQ or any of that. Or does it help if a podcaster does share who they are and who they're with and I'm a family man or I'm a spiritual person or anything like that?
Yeah, it's tough because it's so case to case on what it should be, right? If you are building a personality brand and it's, hey, here's me and my life and what I'm about and trying to do that, almost that influencer route or like self-reality show, then yeah, there's got to be you in there. There has to be plenty of that because the whole thing is you're building all of it, all of the attention and the whole ecosystem of your content is about who you are and what you do. So like, yeah, from a business side, it gets a little trickier. I think personality is always key. Like, what are you most interested in? Especially when you're a coach, a consultant, like somebody who is the face of the business, then you have opinions about how things are done. I mean, what has this entire conversation been for us, right? I'm talking about content and delivery and hosting and podcasting. Like that's my space. So I've got opinions on that. And that, as much as that doesn't feel personal, it is personal, right? Like these are beliefs that I have about this craft and how it should be done. And I think there's a right way and a wrong way when it comes to things. So like that's personality. And to be able to share personal experiences as well, things that I've gone through as a business owner, as a podcaster, getting better as a host, times I've made mistakes, bad interviews, you know what I mean? Like those stories, I don't mind sharing those things. And at the same time, sharing parts of my personal life that influence how I think and operate and just be a person. Just like, hey, I am a real person and these are my day-to-day things. And it's all in the context of the work I do and how I serve people. So it's a lot, but you have to choose what you're comfortable with based on what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. What's up? You said you piqued my interest. Now I have to ask, what's a bad interview that you've been on?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways. I mean, sometimes I've just been on interviews where I'm the guest and the person is just giving terrible questions. I mean, totally not engaged, right? Like, yeah, like honestly, and I mean this completely sincerely, like complete opposite of you. Like you're listening, you hear something I said, you're curious about that, you ask me and you follow up, right? Like that's great. That's what it should be. There's times where people just have a written set of questions. They're just looking to get through the episode. And so there I am unwittingly answering things that are just a Word document with no life, So like that kind of stuff happens a lot. There was times when I was on the air, just people had no personality. Like they were a writer and I didn't investigate what they were like as a speaker. And so I'm coming in and I'm all energy and I'm trying to make it fun and like goof around with them. And, and they're just like, yeah, so the Phillies today, they're having a hard time. And it's like, yeah, okay, great. Like, thanks for the time. I'm never doing this again. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of ways it can go bad with an interview, but yeah, I've seen it all.
Absolutely. That's so, and listen, this is not a blast or a harp on anyone, but I have been on some pretty bad podcast interviews, and they're just terrible. They're really bad, and I'm like, so my next question: are there people who shouldn't be podcasters? Maybe that's a controversial question. Are there people out there that like, listen, if you don't have these things, stay away from it. It's not for you. It's not for your business. Stay in your lane, right? Everybody talks about that. That's a buzzword. Stay in your financial lane, stay in your dating lane, stay in your podcast lane, or in this case, stay out of podcasting. It's not your swim lane. What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of people that shouldn't be a podcaster. 100,000,000% agree. I mean, there's first off, I appreciate people who are fully self-aware that it's not for them, right? I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to talk all the time. I don't like that kind of attention. It's not for me. Like, great. Yeah, then don't do it. Like, there's a million ways to make content and get the word out and market and whatever. So yeah, don't do that. And for other people, I think what it comes down to is hosting might not be your thing, but you might be a great producer. You might be a great editor. You might be good at building relationships and booking guests or getting your host booked on other shows, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that go into a great podcast. Being a researcher, if you're talking about those like higher production quality shows. So those are the kinds of things that you explore. Like, hey, you want to try hosting. But at some point, there's a lot of shows out there. You're trying to compete. You want to make the most of your time. And it's worth being realistic of like, okay, you either need to put in a tremendous amount of work to build yourself to a point where you're a host that stands out, has an audience, and like can stand on your own 2 feet. So you can spend some years doing that, or you lean into a more natural fit as a producer, as an editor, and like go support the show that way. So yeah, I think that's how it should be.
Love it. This is epic. This is absolutely epic. This is what I love. I love this topic. We all are going to go to a quick commercial break. You guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you a local business looking to offer your customers easy access to cash without having to travel miles? We're here to help. At Norman Legacy Investments, we provide free ATMs with free installation that provide a suitable investment for your business. Even better, we offer you some profit sharing and handle everything from start to finish. Just reach out to us today to schedule a free consultation.
Had to pay some bills. We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we have the incredible, if you missed anything that we've been laying down, that he's been laying down, we have the incredible Mr. Vince Quinn on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and he is spitting tracks on how to podcast, how to take your podcast to the next level. This is what he coaches to, this is what he mentors to, and this is what he helps others, you, me, take things to the next level. If you missed any of that, go check him out. He's on iHeartRadio, Spotify, LinkedIn, Facebook, Audible, Facebook business page, anywhere. Spotify, Apple iTunes, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, he is there, and you can check him out on the Gentleman Style Podcast today, Spilling the Tea. One more round of applause for my special guest. Huge.
Thank you.
We just migrated from talking about who should not be podcasting, and that you've had actual experiences on being a guest on Bad Podcasters Show, which I've had similar experiences. It was terrible. And I didn't have the heart, right, to go back and tell them. I just kind of chalked it up like, listen, I have my own podcast. This is a bad podcast. I left a semi-okay review.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't go slam and just say, listen, you really need to get out of business. But I left a hopefully a review for them to grow on, and said, listen, if you're gonna do this, you need to take it up a notch, or you need to find your other lane. How do you deal with feedback on a bad podcast or a good podcast? Obviously, you're going to leave 5 stars everywhere, but do you go back to those guys and say, "Listen, I got a brand, I got my company, we could really help you"?
Yeah, so it's all about fit, right? I'm not going to go out of my way and coach people who don't want it, because then at that point I'm being rude. You know what I mean? Like if they have questions for me, like, "Hey, what'd you think of the show, and what can I do better?" And you know what I mean? They're like, "Hey, I'll answer some questions." I always do a free strategy call for anybody who wants it up front. Like, I'll give you 30 minutes, get into details on the show, talk about anything you want. So like, no problem. But yeah, otherwise it's like, I don't want to force that kind of issue. If you want to come to me, you have questions, you want to get better, we just spend an hour talking about podcasting. You know what I'm about. You have an idea of whether I know my stuff or not. And so if you trust me and think I know what I'm talking about and I could be a good fit for you, then like, it's easy, just, yeah, let's keep the conversation going. But other than that, yeah, I don't do it unless I'm asked, because otherwise I honestly, I think it's a little salesy. And as much as like, obviously I sell a service, I do this kind of work, I don't go on shows to sell. It's like, I want to talk about the issue. I want to educate people. If they happen to buy from me, great. But I want to be out in the world. I want to meet people. I want to see how other podcasts are run. Like, I don't see other podcasts with a soundboard very often. I've been thinking about that myself, and I think it's a great throwback. Like, that's classic radio, right? Having all these sound effects and things to play with that audio element. It's really sharp. I love that you do it. But I really don't see that often. So like, yeah, that's how I approach all of this kind of stuff. Is just like, yeah, I'm not here to sell. I'm here to give you all the information. If you want coaching, I can help you. And I coach plenty of people. I have coaching clients, but it's only the people who want it and ask.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I have seen, and thank you for the compliment. I want to start off there. Thank you for the compliment. It is my dad was a disc jockey back in the day. So my dad was a DJ. I'm from the Caribbean, so small island, right? Not a big populace, right? But he was a DJ. He was a disc jockey, and so that kind of mindset of disc jockey music playing. Hey, it's your boy Mojo D on the DW9 and all of that, right? So
yeah,
that was my dad. So I picked up on that subliminally, because I never accompanied him to the station, but I said that can still be relevant even in podcasting. I felt like that can still transition over. And so I brought it to podcasting, and it's been serving me ever since. So thank you for that. But again, it's like, I have been on some extremely boring shows, some extremely hard, rough shows. I want to slightly pivot. Have you ever had a guest provide misinformation on your show, mislead during an episode? And do you correct them or do you leave them? And forgive me, I this is radio or now what you're currently doing now, so it can relate to both.
Yeah, so I'll say on my show, I've not had, as far as I know, misinformation. Mm-hmm. And part of that is I'm very selective about who I bring on. Like, I take pitches, I'm open to them, but 90% of the time I say no, because I need somebody. My show is, I help businesses with podcasts run better shows for their business. That's what I do. That's it. So if you're not talking about that, I don't want you on. I don't care if you have a business and a podcast. If you can't help my people, that's not what this is. So I'm selective. I do pre-interviews. So I'm always trying to talk to people and figure out really what they're about. I have curiosities about things. I'm going to ask follow-up questions. So I try to sort all of that stuff out before they come on the show. I've got a pretty good feel for that. Beyond that, I think if you get somebody that's giving misinformation on the show, it's fair to question. If at the very least you're not ready to just go on and be like, that's a lie. You know what I mean? Like, that's a move. So I can understand why most people are like, I don't want to just go and attack this guest. Like, this is supposed to be a friendly back and forth. But I think it's fair to find these moments. And I was actually talking to a coaching client about this just a week ago. So it's totally fair to go, okay, well, you said that. Well, here's my experience of this, or here's the information that I've heard about it and my understanding of it. What do you think of that? And now it's a conversation, right? It's not accusatory and it's not an argument. It's a discussion about something that you're trying to get to the bottom of. And if it's like, oh, well, that's what you've heard. Yeah, I honestly, I don't think I've ever seen that information. So I got it. And feel free to pass that along after we talk, or if you listening have some ideas on that, let me know. But I've never heard that. So like, I disagree, like that's my way of trying to artfully diffuse the bomb, but also acknowledge that this may not be correct information. If you think it's completely wrong and like actively bad, then yeah, I mean, I think you owe it to people maybe either arguing with the person or after the episode, like after you finish the recording, be like, all right, let me follow up on something and like just do it yourself. Because you don't need to teach that person as much as you need your audience to know what you're about. So
that's fair. You are way nicer than me. No, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't pick a fight, especially when I'm inviting you on, right? That would be messed up because it seems almost like trickery for me to invite you on knowing that there's a potential for me to disagree with you. And then I really dive in on the show and just try and eat you alive, right? So that's deceptive. And that can really leave a bad taste in it. Now, it doesn't, those podcasts that are out there where they're like, I've seen podcast hosts who've had like guests on the show and they're just eating them alive to the point where like maybe there's a fight breaking out on the show, or the guest gets up and they throw water on the person because they're so embarrassed, or they start crying. Like, that is not my goal. I want to have a healthy conversation. But man, oh man, oh man, I tell you, I recently had a guest. She was on the show and she was saying some stuff about dating and relationships and who should pay for the date and who should, and why men should pay for all things and all this stuff. And I'm like, and I'm just like, so and then I posed a question to her, just like, not as articulate as you did.
Yeah.
But I posed a question to her and she on the show, she backtracks. Like, she completely deletes what she just said because I put out a point about dating, and she was like, oh, well, yeah, don't do it. Don't pay for the date.
Yeah. And, see, that's the thing. We're all just meat bags. We're all just meat bags walking around. Like, we contradict ourselves. We've got old opinions that we haven't analyzed in years. And it's good sometimes to be like, oh, I've thought this for like 20 years. That's not true. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just have those moments where it's like, oh, I had the wrong perspective when I formed this opinion. I haven't had to revisit in any real way. And people need that check sometimes. So like, yeah, it shows you shouldn't really believe in it because it was easy to say like, hey, this isn't it. What about this obvious scenario? Oh yeah. Forget everything I just said.
It was literally that. It was, and I had to contain myself. I really had to contain myself. So I'm glad to know. And again, I'm going to do better because this happened to me during COVID. My podcast was for me like a talking point where I was just talking to my audience and I was trying to just teach them different things I was learning in business and podcasting, whatever it is. The new thing that I learned, I was trying to share it. And so I revamped my show by watching podcasts like yours and other high-level podcasters like yours, who I said, I need to get better. I really need to get better at this. And so I revamped the show. I rebranded the show, added the soundboard, added all the stuff. And then I said, I need to ask better questions because better questions really bring out the guests, and they really bring out who I'm interviewing, right? And the guest shines because I'm asking better questions. Whereas if I'm asking basic boring questions like, do you date? Are you dating? Do you pay for the date? Okay, moving on. Like, that's a terrible show, right?
Yep.
But when I revamped how I ask questions, just like what you taught earlier, you were like, hey, those inflections, those inflections and those pauses and those strategic breaks really make a difference in the show. Do you feel that way? Do you think that way at all?
In terms of what exactly?
In terms of like asking better questions. Like I feel like podcasters have your responsibility as a podcaster is to ask really good questions, especially if you're an interview platform.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, no problem. So from a question asking side, yeah, and I think that's one of the things that people typically get wrong with podcasting. It's just the basics of interviewing. Not everybody, a lot of people tend to ascribe their feelings or their perception of something into the question. And so let's say, I don't know, I was a former college athlete and I'm a kicker and I have a game-winning kick opportunity in a bowl game, right? Like people might ask me about that moment and go, so how scary was it when you got there? And it's like, well, actually, it wasn't scary at all. I was really confident in that moment. I knew I was going to make that kick. I've been practicing for years on it. I was the best kicker in the country. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? So like people, but they always tend to do that. They're like, I'm going to get somebody to confirm this idea that I have of the moment rather than let the guest tell you what it felt like, you know? So in that same scenario, it really should be, how did you feel when you were getting ready to take that kick? And then it's, oh, I was terrified. I was super excited. I knew we were about to win. I was thinking about which club I was going to go to after the game. You know, like it could be whatever, but that's the idea. Like you have to let people drive after you hand them the question. Your question is basically a car and you tell them where to take it. And that's the idea. If you're trying to put them in a box all the time, they're fighting your question and you're putting phrasing on it where they might be nice and go, well, yeah, I mean, it was a little scary, you know, it was a little, and I had some doubts, but it's like, if you just ask them, how was that moment? It's a totally different answer. So yeah, you're controlling the interview and manipulating an interview in a way that you don't even realize. And it's actually hurting the quality of the interview because you're not learning what the experience was or what their opinion actually is. You're just seeing how they deal with your perception of it.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I knew it. Thank you. Should podcasters, how much should a podcaster be listening to the comments, reading the comments, or listening into feedback from their followers? Because you can definitely sabotage your own voice as a host if you try to meet every fan and do everything for every single fan. How much can listening too much to your audience sabotage your voice as a podcaster?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to let the public drive what you do, you've lost yourself, right? It's just you have to figure out the people that get who you are and what you do and just maintain. Like it's information. I'm not saying ignore it. Like your audience is really important. And sometimes they're going to give you great information to go off of. If they're telling you, hey, like here's this one thing that, because from a business standpoint, hey, I'm having an issue with this. What do you think about that? Or I need more content like this, 5 exclamation points. Like give them more content. Like, you know what I mean? If the numbers back that up and you go through and you're like, oh, wow, I did get a lot of downloads on that episode in the first 24 hours. And I've realized other episodes like that, going back to my vault here, they've done pretty well. So like, yeah, I probably should make some more stuff like that. Yeah, it's a reference point. So don't let them drive. It is your show. It is your content. And yes, you are serving those people, either entertaining, educating, both. But ultimately, you have to have some level of trust in your perspective and your ability to navigate the show, because you've built it. You've earned that audience. They've come to you because of it. So yeah, you have to have some confidence in yourself that you know what you're doing.
Facts. Absolutely. Facts. When you transitioned from radio and going into podcast, did you make money at first? And if so, how did you make money? Was it Facebook? Was it TikTok? Was it Instagram? How can other podcasters grow? Because that's a common complaint I hear, is like, I'm not making money at this. So how am I going to keep going? How am I going to keep growing?
Yeah. So at first, when I got into podcasting, I didn't make any money. I was losing money constantly. And that's because I was going about it the wrong way. I was going about it from that radio and entertainment mindset. It was, hey, I'm going to get all these people to listen and I'm going to get sponsors and all. And like, that's not what this is. That's not, when you're doing it for a business, you are using it as a means to support sales. It is, what do I sell? What do I do? Who do I serve? How can I make content that is engaging with those people, building an audience of them? And when it comes time that they need real help with their issues, they come to me. And how am I building other relationships with other people in my space that they don't solve the exact problems that I do, but they're in the same space. So when they need somebody that does what I do, they call me. Like that's what it's all about. For me, everything that I do, everything that I work with, my show, client shows, whatever, it's marketing. It's dynamic marketing. And to be able to understand that, yeah, it's not about sponsors, go sell more. It makes everything so much simpler. But that's what it took. It took understanding that, okay, I need to speak to an incredibly specific audience. I'm going to do it in a not so crowded space. I want to be one of the best voices at doing it. And I'm going to make content about it in a couple of different forms, but all with the same message on all of these major platforms. And if my cumulative audience is growing on my newsletter, on my LinkedIn, on my YouTube, on the podcast downloads, then I'm doing my job. Like, sales are coming in through the door. But that's what it's for. I started the show for my business. So why would I do anything else? Why would I start a show for my business to get sponsors? It doesn't make sense.
So don't do sponsorships. That's not the driving force, or you're saying look at the metric and see if it's driving the numbers up.
So here's what I would say is, especially when you're getting started and you're doing it as a business, like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. This is part of my business. It's how I'm growing my business, and I want to make money through the show. Then the best way to do that is to make content that helps you sell. And that's working on your messaging. That's doing almost live case study episodes, inviting people on that you can build relationships with to be referral partners. Anybody you've had success with, let them come on and talk about things that you've done with them. But the whole idea is that's allowing you to get posts up on social media, connect with new people on LinkedIn, and build followers around your business because you're making content about what you do and it resonates. Like, you've identified a proper audience. And if you don't do that, then you're going to have a hard time selling for your business anyway. So start there. Like, I make sure you have a crystal clear vision of who your audience is, how you serve them, the message that they need to hear, and you have the right services to solve it. And then if it turns out that you've built a big enough audience that you can get sponsors, great. I mean, now you're getting advertising money on top of your marketing, but up front, sponsor yourself. Just talk about what you do, talk about your services, talk about how you help people, and give them an opportunity to embrace you further because they implicitly admit they have some problem or some interest in what you do. And eventually that opportunity is going to come where they call.
Absolutely. How many people have you coached or that you've mentored and taught about podcasting actually take what the knowledge that you share and actually go for it? I did one podcasting class, and I taught this person the stuff I was doing at the time, my little secrets.
Mhm.
And they, gave a review, shining review, and then they never launched. What would you say the percentage of the students you teach actually take what you give them, the actionable advice, and then actually go do the thing?
Yeah, so I make that an important part of what we do. It's really a checkpoint system where if you're just getting started, I will literally help you build the show. And we're going to do that step by step. And I have a whole 9-step process to do it, from coming up with the concept and the goals to actually hitting publish on your first episode. I cover all of it. So I work with people to make sure that, like, in a very specific way, we go through that entire process. And if I'm doing a lot of that production work, that's fine. That's what they need me to do, and that's what they're paying me for. And if they're more the DIY and they just need the advice and the strategy, then that's what I give them. But it is very much of, we are doing this. It is hands-on, and we're making progress. And same thing when it comes to people that I coach that are active podcasters. I mean, I just helped somebody through a rebrand, and I've been doing that for the last month and a half. It was like, hey, where's the show? Okay, where's your business now? Where do you want it to be? What kinds of conversations, topics, referral partners, all the things that I've talked about? Like, what do you want? And let's go build the show to do that and artfully maintain the feed that you've built and the shows that you have in the backlog, and time it out so that you can gracefully make this transition and bring your audience along for the ride. So yeah, everything I do, it's like, if you're doing a free 30-minute strategy call up front, yeah, no problem. Like, I'll give you the information. And if you never see me again, you never see me again. It's up to you. But anybody I work with, we're putting in work.
And it's going out. It's going published, and it's going out. That's the goal. It's going to get out. It's going to get heard, and you're gonna see results. What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence? Because I know that's a big thing in the music industry, where artists are fearful of being replaced by AI, and someone that looks like Mr. Vince, but it's not you. It's a AI bot. What are your thoughts on AI generated hosts eventually replacing human podcasters or whatever the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening. It's happening in ad reads. So they're making big announcements of, hey, we have this new technology where you can get an AI host to do your advertisement. So like that's a thing they celebrate. But yeah, for everybody who's a voice actor, and there's a lot of those people, it's a terrible development, and they're losing all their work. They have to figure out what to do with their lives now. Like it's dire. So yeah, it's going to happen in the hosting space for sure, and for businesses. I think especially some bigger businesses that maybe they don't want to have a high position salary person doing the podcast. They don't think it's worth it. They'll probably get somebody that's AI. I mean, is it going to fully give the value that they want? No. Like the only way that's because what happens is people inherently want to connect with people. And if they find out that they've been had or that from the jump it is a bot, it's not a real person, that takes something out of it. So yeah, can you get valuable information? Sure. Are you going to always advocate for that show? Probably not so much because you just know it's not a person. And so I think that matters. Like it's helpful. There's times where AI is helpful, but yeah, I think more often than not, it's about human connection.
Absolutely. I remember a while back I was searching for a guest. It was back in the day she was on BET, and her whole show was the beginnings of AI and animation. And her character, it was a music show. So it was like if you think 106 in Park or MTV Cribs, but it was a digital version of her, and she's just the voice. And so it was the early makings of that, and then now she's looking for work. Right, because they have completely replaced her. Right, they didn't need her anymore because they can do the animation already, and they already have her voice recorded. So I just wanted to know if that was something that you were fearful of, or scared of, or you're embracing it. I think you're leaning towards because you're like, it's here. What am I gonna do?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to find a way to survive with it, and you have to, and I think in part that's why it's so imperative to be great at the job as a podcaster and be very sharp with your strategy because there's going to be even more shows to compete with because people are going to launch a bunch of AI garbage and hope for the best, So yeah, and then eventually the AI is only going to get better. The tone of AI when it speaks back. For example, I use ChatGPT for some things that I do day to day and stuff around the house occasionally. And I don't know if you've ever talked to some of those voices, but when you do a voice chat, it'll be like, yeah, so when you're dealing with this problem, typically what that means is, like, and it's like, whoa, like this is, if even if you are paying attention, it is scary accurate. And so it's only going to get better. But yeah, that's why it's all important to be like, I am a person and here are these problems I solve. And here's this very specific lane that I'm in. And here's my expertise. And at some point, a bot can't replicate that. Like it can't compete with that unless you have somebody that is working in overdrive to just have a bot speak for them because they're not a compelling speaker. But in that case, it's a good use of AI. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a fascinating balance of it. It's case by case. And you just have to be very selective about how you want to use it yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. You can tell I love this. This has been epic. So my last question, I gotta get you out of here. What's one belief about podcasting that you think will make us obsolete by 2030 or the future? What's besides AI? Anything else that you see that is going to put the podcaster out of commission, right? Because radio is out of commission, and so now podcasting has been around for some time. What should podcasters be fearful of?
Fearful of? I don't. Other than AI, honestly, I don't think it's about being fearful of anything. I think if the biggest difference you're going to see of podcasting is maybe just the elimination of the name. I mean, the term podcast, it's always like, what is this? What platform is it? Does a YouTube video that's 15 minutes qualify as a podcast? Like maybe, is it just a talk show now? Like, yeah. So I think the term podcast, because now it is so video and so cross-platform, that may die. I really don't know. Like, I'll see how that goes. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's just, you just need to, there's going to be more competition. If anything, there's going to be more podcasters than ever. And so, because people can translate a show to other languages now. So, I mean, that's kind of AI, right? That's kind of backdooring into AI, but it's true. Like that's a human that's getting their show in a different language than they used to be. So yeah, you're going to have more competition than ever. There's going to be more people in the space. And it's why you just need to be better than your competition and constantly work to be great at it.
Hone your craft. Hone your craft.
That's it.
Dr. Ogilvy and Back to the Future did not foresee this. If you could give one more nugget to the guest, the young boy, the young girl out in the audience who's thinking about making their own podcast, who's scared to start their own podcast, you've shared so many nuggets this episode. What would you say to that young boy, that young girl who is debating starting their own podcast?
Yeah, take big risks and don't set serious expectations. The more you're just saying, hey, I'm going to go into this, I'm going to get better. I want to just do this for whatever reason. I think it's fun. I want to meet people. I just love talking about this topic and I want to see where it goes. Go do that. Like, this doesn't have to be, I'm going to be the number one show and I'm going to have all these big sponsors and I'm going to be the best in the world. Like, part of it is there is joy in doing this, right? And so as much as we've done all these technical ins and outs today and all this like deeper strategy stuff, that's for me working with businesses that need to make money. Like, it's a little bit of a different approach and a different sense of urgency. But if you just want to learn the space and learn the medium and figure out what your voice is, just go. I mean, just start recording episodes. And if you're enjoying it and you're actively working to get better, you're going to get better. So just believe in that and see where it takes you.
How can people connect with you? How can my audience find you and learn more?
Yeah, so freepodcasthelp.com. That is the easiest way to get in touch with me. And like I said, that's for the 30-minute strategy session. So if you've got a show, you want help with that show, you want to get better, no problem. We'll sit down for 30 minutes. I'll ask you a couple of questions before we even sit down. So I've got an idea of what your show is, what you're looking to do, what your situation's like. And that makes it easier for me to pinpoint like, hey, based on what you're telling me what your issues are, here's what I think you should do. So very to the point, and I try to be surgical with it. So there's only so much time. You got to get to the point quickly, right? So freepodcasthelp.com and sign up for a free call.
Absolutely. Connect. Y'all, this has been epic. This has been great. We, unfortunately, are out of time. We got to let this incredible man go. He has many more lives to change, many more podcasts to help launch, and many more lives to change for the better. So like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and the incredible, super fragilisticexpialidocious, Mr. Quince Jones, the man, signing off. Love you guys. Bye.